Hello. Welcome to the AppleInsider Podcast. I'm William Gallagher. Our sponsor this week is Nordstellar, but then if you're a subscriber, you won't know anything more about that. And I am joined, after my week away, by Wes Hilliard, who I understood did last week's podcast twice. He liked it so much. I may be exaggerating there. But Wes, all is sorted and fixed, and is there any news this week? Or should I have taken this week off as well?
Well, Mike did a great job last week. It was the weather that was against us. We recorded for 5 whole minutes before we had a power outage. But no, everything's going well here. Slowly putting this office together. I think it's coming together. I will say, William, you're going to be disappointed to hear that Mike shared in the Apple Insider Plus segment, so we should share here, that we are going to video very soon. We don't have an exact date yet, but Mike already blew up the news, so we might as well go ahead and share it.
But I haven't combed my hair or anything. Okay, you got to build up to this stuff. I might have to get a suit. Okay, definitely got to tidy my office.
We're working on it. We're working on our offices. William took time off to literally reconstruct his office from scratch. I believe he started from the foundation and just built around it. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out ways to get foam pads to stick to walls because mine keep falling off.
I'll tell you what, look, I'll just say this, because this is desperately important Apple news. My office is in mid-disarray because this is the most showbiz thing I've ever done. I went to BAFTA, the British Institute of Film and Television Arts, and had a Writers Guild lunch there that was 8 hours long. Isn't that is how you spend your lunch hours? Well, yeah, right, you're just looking at me now, aren't you?
I also take an 8-hour lunch, yeah.
Okay, I didn't see you there. But no. Right, but
Apple
you know, we're
Plus.
generally very productive, aren't we? Really. This week, let's get into the things because one of the things I was very conscious of the fact of when I was away was that a friend has ordered a MacBook Neo, and I wasn't certain that he kind of got in time before it all, you know, prices increased if they're going to, or delays for it. I think he did, but he might be in luck. Only because Apple won't be bringing out any other Macs for, the rest of the year or something? Is that what it's sounding like to you?
Till at least the fall. I mean, we have this crazy shortage going on industry-wide. It's memory, chips, semiconductors, everything is just difficult to get a hold of. Everything's more expensive. Apple's pulling Macs from the shelves, basically saying you can't buy this, so you can't even see the option on the website anymore. All because of this AI nonsense that's basically convinced everyone of some sort of fear of missing out on a global scale. Everyone thinks that if they don't invest in AI or have some computing cluster ready to go, that they're going to suddenly cease to exist or not have a job. And none of that's true, but people with money are telling us that and have some people convinced, I guess.
Would they lie to us? Come on, they got money, they're rich, they're obviously nice people. But
yeah, just like they didn't lie to us about Web3 or NFTs or cryptocurrency or, I don't know, NFTs. Self-driving cars and moon bases and going to Mars. And I don't know. I could keep going, William.
Right, this is suddenly a depressing turn. Well, this is a bit depressing as well. I understood about the processors and RAM because data centers and AI need loads of both, and data centers I got that bit. But this week, when I was writing a story about BOE, can never remember what it stands for. It's the Chinese display company. I learned something else. Just surprised me. The story is that BOE is not going to be producing screens for the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max, and there are all sorts of reasons to do with quality and quantity. But apparently Samsung is getting orders for it and is already getting orders for it because Apple has brought forward this carry-in thing Tim Cook mentioned as well. They've brought forward their inventory ordering in order to get ahead before prices go up. Now, I wasn't expecting display technology prices to go up. Is it affecting everything, or is there some other reason why Apple would bring those in early?
I mean, displays are one of the most expensive parts of a device, and given the current trends, there's always a chance it could get more expensive, and it never hurts to have extra inventory on hand. This is just Tim Cook's supply chain engine, in full view. We've seen it before. We're seeing it now. He's just getting ahead of what is a crazy time to be in any kind of computer business, and Apple is dead smack in the middle. So,
Right. I suppose Apple has the money to do it, but
I mean, they have infinite money. We just heard from this earnings call last week that they don't. They plan on hoarding more money than ever. They've even hired a dragon to keep watch over the treasury.
I'm starting to think they just have a division that prints money. It would save, it would cut out so much trouble.
They're announcing that in September. The new Apple money machine.
Do you know, I might even know. Oh, well, what am I talking about? I'm in England. We don't even have Apple Card yet. Or puzzles on Apple News Plus. Or I think, wait, stop it, William. But you said there about Tim Cook and the display of his logistical prowess, really. He's famous for cutting down on supplies, getting Apple down from months to just days of stock inventory. So it must be going against nature to do this for him. But, you know, if you have to, I suppose you adapt for these things. But I'm curious to see why displays are coming in early. I'm wondering if everything else is going to come in early. How far can this drought of other components go? And how far can it go before Apple has to start well, I was going to say has to raise prices, but can Apple absorb price rises?
Well, we've seen them do that before with tariffs. They basically effectively change nothing about their business. Absorb the cost of tariffs to the number of millions, if not billions of dollars, and now they're going to get refunds and reinvest it into the United States. So customers were left totally unaffected that entire time. So great. Price changes in the industry. Apple has a lot of supply chain levers they can pull. If memory goes up on one, for that one component, they can try to get prices lowered on another component to balance it. There's so many ways Apple tries to maintain specific margins by keeping component costs low that just because memory goes up doesn't mean the iPhone prices go up. I'm not expecting a price raise for the iPhone 18 Pro. Well, one reason you might not is that you're in America. A couple of years ago now, Apple made quite a big thing. It was quite unusual in the middle of the iPhone launch to talk about the prices and how they'd kept the prices the same. And what they didn't say was they've kept the prices the same in America and China and raised them everywhere else, such as, for example, don't know why I picked this place, the UK. Yeah, quite a significant chunk. But nothing about alternative supplies reminds me. I was reading this BOE story I mentioned, thinking apparently BOE can't make enough screens. They can't make them as well as anybody else. And Apple's previously chucked them out completely for doing sort of unsanctioned design changes for them. I understand the CEO was ordered over to Apple Park to explain and things like this. Why would you keep working with a company like that? And apparently one of the reasons is they're cheaper. And that doesn't mean Apple will buy them, but it means they can say to Samsung Display and LG Display that, well, we could go over here. Samsung doesn't want to lose business to BOE. So, yeah, they're basically using them as kind of a betting chip anyway. And BOE doesn't like that, but they have no choice because every now and then Apple does actually buy from them. I believe, weren't they involved in AirPod production or something? Like they get orders from Apple. Yeah, so BOE does something for Apple. I just can't remember what. They did actually get some iPhone 17 orders, screen orders, and then even some iPhone 17 Pro orders. So the news was no 18 Pro one, so they kind of lost out there. But they're making older screens, screens for older devices. So the story I have here, I wrote based off of a comment from Tim Cook, is not Tim Cook, as Kevin Parekh during the earnings call. He basically said that the next quarter, Q3, will be a tough compare because there will be no iPad. And so basically Apple is saying don't expect an iPad for this quarter. At the very least, they haven't released one yet. And even if they released one in, say, July for some reason, it wouldn't affect the quarter at all. So they're just saying it's going to be a tough compare. So between now and the fall, don't expect any new iPads. And that means the iPad with A19 and Apple Intelligence, the base model. So none of that. Shortages around the world, as you said. No Mac Mini with M5, no M5 iMac, no Mac Studio, nothing. There's whatever you were waiting on, you're going to be waiting a little bit longer.
Well, I'm okay with that because I bought an M5 iPad Pro last November, so I'm all right for a
Do you
while.
think this means the
Anyway.
M6 gets pushed back?
Well, it sounds like everything's going to be pushed back. I did
Or,
read another. Sorry, yeah.
I was going to say,
Hmm?
alternatively, could Apple skip the M5 in some of these products and just go straight to M6 because the M6 is ready?
Well, the thing I was reading was a claim from the supply chain that all of these shortages will continue, for the Mac at least, until TSMC, the processor manufacturer, can ramp up its production of M6 chips. Now, the M6 is expected in the next MacBook Pro. I don't know what else it's expected in. Um, Surely AI companies want the latest and the best processors as well. So I didn't know that followed necessarily, unless Apple has already ordered and bought a massive supply of M6s, in which case, yeah, they could chuck them everywhere. Good point.
It's hard to say. I mean, the supply chain is complex, and Apple has so many hands in so many baskets. There's really not one point we can look at and say, see, this is Apple's plan. We see this all the time with supply chain reports that some person gets a whiff of an order from one company and they're like, Apple is massively reducing yada yada,
Yeah.
and it's just not the case. They just reduced it from that one supplier. This stuff is getting so complicated to watch. And then there's TSMC who makes all of the chips. So I mean, I guess less complicated in that respect. But these shortages are going with the trends of AI. And if you're following AI, you might see that the trend is shifting.
Mm. Well, actually,
So
this week, for some reason, this week, anything I've tried with AI has just come back with. I was researching something, and you know you're not going to trust it, but when it comes back with absolutely, totally, obviously wrong answers, and you point out to it that they're wrong, and it always goes, "Oh gosh, you're right." What did one of them say to me this week? I read too quickly. What? What? Why do I care how
it's
fast
all
or not
made
it is?
up. It doesn't know what it's saying.
Yeah. So
It's just trying to make you happy. Like it's
it's failing.
yeah, well, it's predictive texting its way through apologizing, and that's something someone might say to another human being. It's like, "Oh, sorry, I misread that." Well, the AI didn't misread it. That's
Oh,
stupid.
yeah. No, sorry,
Yeah.
that reminds me. I don't know if this happens in the States, but here in the UK, sometimes if you're on a support phone call or something, you know it's automated, but they add in the sound of typing noises as if it's like,
The breathing's what gets me. They do
oh,
automated like sighs and stuff,
oh God, I've not had that one. That's creepy.
like intakes of
Okay,
breaths, stuff like that. So
right.
the shortage, it's going to be annoying for a while. There's
Yeah,
because especially because the supply chain, I don't think people understand. It's not an on-off switch. It's not suddenly
oh,
tomorrow
sure.
everyone stops buying GPUs and Mac Minis, and suddenly the next day there's GPUs and Mac Minis on the market. The supply chain has to catch up. We're probably 6 months out from any real stability, and that's only if people stop buying this stuff tomorrow. But we're also seeing a lot of changes in terms of shifts in investment, which I know that's boring, but this is how you keep track of like what's actually happening here. And man, has things started shifting. I mean, Anthropic just bought XAI's capacity in Memphis because, of
Oh, I
course,
didn't
that
know.
was going to go poorly. XAI is just bleeding money at this point. Then you have ChatGPT giving up on various aspects of its business in order to
Mm.
consolidate and changing the rates on certain models that make them more expensive and get you less tokens because they have no foreseeable runway. The investment money's starting to dry up because all of the promises they made aren't being returned. Of course, you
Yeah,
can turn on any news program and hear in like these analysts, investors, and CEOs saying, "Wow, it's going so great. You know, we're railing into the future." But if you look at the reports, it's so and so partnership is no longer happening. So and so product is no longer happening. It's more expensive to do this, and that's only going to continue until only the most obsessed are going to stick with the AI stuff. This is the same trajectory we saw with NFTs and crypto. I don't know if you remember, but that stuff just disappeared overnight, more or less.
yeah,
It felt
very
like it
quick.
did anyway.
Yes.
But you can still go on social media networks like X and see people promoting crypto and NFTs as if it was still a thing. There's always going to be those weirdos, and I believe that's going to be the case in AI, where they're going to go out and buy up as much as they can, but they only have so much money. We're no longer talking about corporations, but individuals. And all this is going to even out. Like, this is what we've been talking about for a long time with this bubble popping, which turned into a bubble deflation. It's deflating more rapidly every day, and I'm hopeful, and maybe this is my hope creeping into my prediction, but I think by the end of the year, I think things will start stabilizing and returning to some form of normalcy. I don't think the media conversation around AI is going to get any better for a while, because that's just its own level of lunacy, but the actual market shift is going to take place sooner.
Can we just take a moment to feel a little sorry for OpenAI and XAI? Look, I'm saying this with the straightest face I can. Just take a moment to go,
if ChatGPT, OpenAI can't find a revenue, like a real revenue source that isn't just investment funds, they could be out of money by 2028. So,
and we gave up all of our, as writers, we gave up all of our data for nothing. That's what that is.
The thing is when people hear me talk about this stuff, they instantly jump to the most extreme, and they're like, "You believe AI is going to disappear?" I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the grift is going to finally disappear, and we can all breathe. I was so close to cursing.
There will always be a grift.
There will always be a grift, and there will definitely be people pushing that grift, but on the massive scale, it will be reduced. And maybe we can finally get to the point where it's just a tool that's in our toolbox that improves human efficiency, right? I just saw Match Group, Tinder, say that they were going to lay off a bunch of people and switch to AI. For what? Like, what? You keep seeing these reports, but it's in the weirdest way, and again, just signs of this whole thing just kind of collapsing inward on itself. Just, it's a very slow kind of collapse, like a black hole. We'll see where it's going. Obviously, I can't predict the future, but the signs are starting to appear, right? That cracks in the surface. The general population is tired of AI. They're seeing the effects that it's having on their environments, like all these data centers getting built, but no jobs are getting created. Pollution getting added to areas, but no real benefit from it. All of these things, and more expensive computers, more expensive smartphones and components and accessories. All of this pressure for what? And there's almost nothing to show for it except a bunch of nerds on the internet saying they built an app that's, someone with actual skills could have built themselves. Again, not to go after the vibe coders, I'm glad that you're having fun and you're able to build something and maybe even learn from it. Like our coworker Malcolm Owen's learning a lot from vibe coding. Yeah. That's great. But shortcuts never really get you anything except pain. Actual experience, actual learning is so important. And I think we've seen a lot of effects of these reduction in skills because of AI. Even though it's only been a few years, it's just really impactful, really sad already. And I think people are tired of it. So as society gives up on it, at some point the grift has to move on. They'll find something else to throw at us, of course, but you gotta, it's gotta slow down. I mean, look at the MacBook Neo. This thing is selling like hotcakes.
Well, this is something I want to ask you about, because I think this sounds like good news. Actually, in the midst of all of these shortages, MacBook Neo, like you say, incredible sales, and to the extent that Apple they're making more of them, presumably. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, so this is what's actually bad news for Apple, because it's costing them more money. They have to double the production of A18 Pro chips because their bin collection of throwaways have already been exhausted. So, but that's how popular this MacBook is. It's way beyond Apple's expectations, which is great. It's doing good for Apple. But I wonder what the margins are on this thing. I mean, clearly the technologies they're using are very inexpensive, so I would say it's a really good margin product. So they're not changing the price to do this new chip production run, thankfully. But it is definitely, it caught them by surprise. I just hope that they don't get overconfident and then expect suddenly the MacBook Neo 2 is going to sell as well, because it's not how demand's going to work here, I don't think.
Oh, that's interesting. Is way back in the day, the PowerBook day, so long before your time, the PowerBook was doing incredible for Apple, and then suddenly it wasn't. I mean, really suddenly. It was like everybody who was ever going to buy one had bought one, and they were not upgrading it. Apple wasn't helping that by how slowly it was releasing things, but it wasn't getting sufficient Windows users over. So this is cash cow was gone suddenly. So, yeah, you can.
This is the problem. This is the iPad problem all over again. Apple sold way more iPads than I ever thought it would, just because that price point was not $1,000 like people thought. It came in cheap, and people are like, wow, we can just buy these.
Yes.
And then everyone bought an iPad, and they were good enough that you could just keep using them. And so the next iPad comes out, and no one buys one. And the MacBook Neo is in a similar situation. It's perfect in a lot of ways. Like, its construction, its performance, even its display. Yeah, there's compromises, but for the people buying this product, Apple, if they come out with an A19 version of this or whatever next year, the people who already own one are not going to bother upgrading, because the people in this budget category probably aren't buying a laptop more than every 5 years. So I do wonder if this is an annual product. I think they'll shift the chipset, just because now they'll have a new collection of bent A19s laying around.
You got to put them somewhere. Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
The chips will get bumped, but this sales drive that we're seeing will ultimately slow, because, as you said, everyone who wants one will have bought one, and it's not going to have an upgrade cycle. This thing's going to last a while. I'm very curious what the first Mac OS is that drops support for it.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I never thought of that. Just as a side point, because you reminded me of this, so not the next macOS, but the one after is going to drop certain support things. Last week or so, I keep getting pop-up notifications on my Mac Studio saying, well, this is going to happen and that app's not going to work. And most of the time, it seems like some ancient Kindle reading app I didn't know was still on the Mac. I don't care. But then, as we record this today, it popped up and said, there's a component within the Stream Deck app that won't work with it. Now, I think I'm up to date with Stream Deck stuff. I'm life support dependent on my Stream Deck, but am I going to lose a component from it? I guess I've got a couple of years to find out, but why is it worrying me now?
I think you have 6 months to find out. Stream Deck will update to fix whatever ancient component they have in their code or whatever. We'll see. There's going to be some weirdness, like with every Apple transition, the 32-bit transition to 64, Apple Silicon, Rosetta, and everything. Like, Apple tends to do well with these, but it's not always perfect. There's always going to be one weird outlier. I mean, I believe a lot of audio stuff had trouble transitioning during the 64-bit transition. So, I don't see it being a big issue. These developers know it's coming. They're just waiting till the last minute. This summer is probably going to be a busy summer for a lot of developers, trying to make sure that they don't have any old components, like no Intel, because that's what's happening is this fall, when Mac OS whatever comes out, 27, there will be no Mac OS support for Intel anything. Yeah, no more Rosetta.
I honestly didn't care until I got this warning every day for the last 6 days, something like that. I mean, a warning of something else for it. And now, I just said then about Stream Deck. Elgato makes Stream Deck, and the hardware is fantastic, but the software can be a bit ropey. So hopefully they'll sort that out. But how about this? Other things that are coming out that we know are coming out because they've come out. There's a new Pride collection for Apple Watch. This happens quite a lot, but it's a good thing, and it's out there, and I haven't actually seen it. Have you?
Well, I went and bought one.
Excellent.
The moment they announced it, and it came the next day, so they clearly had them in stock. Yeah, it's a Pride band. They've done the Velcro one again, where it's a strap. My wife goes through these things pretty hardcore every year because she wears them constantly, and because they're vibrant rainbow color. We really liked the it was like a knitted solo loop or whatever. That one was my favorite, and I wish they would do another. But they've done the Velcro one a couple of times, and we went ahead and got her a new one because they wear out if you wash your hands a lot, and she does a lot of cleaning and stuff. So Yeah, definitely an instant buy, and happy that Apple continues to do this. I mean, this is one of those indicators of if something was truly happening inside of Apple, like dramatic and hateful and terrible, this would be one of the first things that would go. And it hasn't gone away yet. And we're getting some wonderful Pride wallpapers and a watch face that looks cool with iOS 26.5. So that'll be out in a few days.
Oh, I didn't realise about that. Well, there's news of potential watch faces for iOS 27, but then there's so many rumours coming out. Where do you start with the rumours? This episode is brought to you by Nordstellar. Nordstellar is a threat exposure management platform for businesses. It detects cyber threats against your company and it helps you take control before they escalate. Nordstellar can monitor the dark web to uncover targeted attacks against your firm, your brand, or your executives. Its attack surface management finds external vulnerabilities before attackers exploit them. For C-level managers, it provides faster detection and prioritization. It offers real-time visibility of risks, and it also strengthens a firm's compliance posture. For your company's security teams, Nordstellar can provide contextualized insights. It can track adversaries and provide malware logs. For your whole company, using Nordstellar means safeguarding both employees and customers from phishing, from identity abuse, or from account takeovers. Made by the team behind NordVPN, Nordstellar is about proactive protection. Do not wait until your company's data is already for sale on the dark web. Protect your business today with Nordstellar. Nordstellar has flexible plans that scale with your business size, but right now you can get an exclusive offer. Unlock your 10% discount on Nordstellar with the coupon code NordAppleInsider-10-Nordstellar. Go to nordstellar.com/AppleInsider. That's nordstellar.com/AppleInsider and use that coupon code. Just mention it to Nordstellar. And thanks to Nordstellar for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast. I was just saying rumours, there's so many of them coming up. I mean, at this stage, I never know quite whether to believe anything or just cover my ears, because it's only going to be, a few weeks, really, until we see everything in iOS 27 and macOS, whatever it's called. But I still want to know earlier. And one of the things I saw was that there might be a new version. No, excuse me, not a new version. Doesn't the Apple Watch Ultra have a particularly good modular face? And that might come to the other smaller, cheaper Apple Watches.
It'll just be a reduced version with as many widgets as you can fit on the screen, but just on the smaller Apple Watch screens, because it's a very popular face. It's a good one of the ones I enjoy on Apple Watch Ultra. So yeah, we're just going to get a version of that with the next WatchOS version. That's an easy win for everybody, I think.
I've realised I have my watch face change automatically, so overnight it goes to a dull red big digit, so I can see it at the middle of the night, and then in the morning it changes. But I always seem to go for very minimalist things. So, I mean, right now it is just the hands. There's no widgets. There's no extra things on it at all.
I enjoy the big numbers where the seconds count up as a line, changing the color of the numbers.
I haven't seen that one. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good watch faces. The utilitarian ones with a lot of widgets I save for, because I use different watch faces for pretty much every focus mode, and I have all of my focus modes, 10 of them. So fitness and work tend to be more utilitarian. But Apple's also changed a lot about how the watch works. You don't need as many widgets because you can scroll up and get hints about actions you want to take. Now, every day, every Friday at like 1 p.m., a cycling workout hint shows up on my Apple Watch, which is consistent with what I usually do on Fridays. So I like that the system is working out for Apple, and I think we're going to see some interesting changes in watchOS 27 because last year was mostly about liquid glass. So yeah, I think a lot of interesting changes because there was so much effort put into that redesign. Now this is the year where we refine it, and those refinements often bring a lot of small changes across the ecosystem, but in a large number of small changes. And I think that makes for an exciting WWDC.
Right. I wonder if I can get a chocolate hint. Right, I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. Okay, one thing, because you mentioned focus modes there, and I am now using them more than I ever was before, but I am finding, although I have some that trigger different watch faces, like the overnight stuff and things like that, sometimes the watch will change its face seemingly by itself. Is that just a thing, or am I Jekyll and hiding in the middle of the night setting things that I shouldn't be?
You've probably got something set somewhere. Or you've got multiple watch faces assigned to like a single focus somehow. Like I think because you can do multiple lock screens assigned to a single focus.
Oh yeah, you can. Yes,
but it's one of those where you probably accidentally switched because all it takes is a long press and a swipe, and you can do that You can do that accidentally for sure.
Mm. Well, I think I will strip it all back and start again because I'm finding focus modes more useful.
I was really tempted. I was writing an iOS review, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I had like some new focus mode stuff, lock screens, automations? And I was like, I don't want to do all of this rebuilding right before WWDC. I'm gonna be patient, and on June 9th, I'm going to delete everything on my phone and start over. So that'll be fun.
Right. He took me in something, then he took me out of it. But last week when I was away and shifting furniture and doing all sorts of things like that, I had a focus mode that only let my wife Angela get through to me, and it was blissfully peaceful, and I enjoyed that. So, but that's the Apple Watch things, and this one rumour I had heard about a new face. There's also rumours about Apple Wallet, and this is also something else I'm finding more and more useful. Particularly when I went off for that 8-hour lunch in London, I walked to the train station and I got near it, and there was Apple Wallet showing me the ticket on demand as I needed it. I think Wallet's remarkably good, but I understand there's going to be more. And you can do your own passes, is the headline I read, but I haven't read the story. I don't understand what passes I would make.
Anything that has a barcode you could turn into a pass. Apps already do this. So this is basically a Sherlock from Apple, but it's an obvious Sherlock. I understand those app developers might be a little upset, but this is definitely one of those things that should have been a wallet in the first place. Those developers created because it's an obvious feature, but now Apple's going to have it, and there's no reason to have those third-party apps, unless, of course, they do something more, which is likely. There's a lot of these third-party apps. You can get one that has one pass that changes based on where you are or what you're doing, or where you can just generate an unlimited number of passes. There's so many things here. But I think Wallet is one of those apps that Apple just puts out features into the world and expects people to adopt them, and they rarely, if ever, do. For example, there is still an active feature in Wallet that nobody uses that I'm aware of. Walgreens did this for about 10 minutes, and then they stopped. Where if you have a rewards card, you could share it to Apple Wallet. And then the NFC reader, when you tap it at Walgreens, would say, hey, I'm Walgreens, and check for a pass while you're transacting, and simultaneously do your debit credit card and the pass all in one transaction without the user having to do anything. And it would register your account, give you your points, give you your discounts. It was great. And then Walgreens ditched it, because I don't think anyone realized it was there. Nobody bothered. Also, at the time, Walgreens had this really privacy invasive system that in order to get access to that, you had to like give them access to your health data, and then they would give you coupons if you ate a healthy breakfast. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a whole different issue. But yeah, Wallet is one of those underutilized apps by third parties, and I think Apple has incorrectly put the onus on these other companies. And by creating a pass creation system in the wallet, I think it will allow users to have more control and more optionality, because they'll make the decision to put a item in wallet versus the other.
Okay, I'm just curious to know how I'll use that. But I'm finding passes a bit dangerous because, sort of July, August last year, I went to Paris and I bought a metro pass with 10 tickets. And by the end of the trip, I still had 6 left. So obviously I had to go back to Paris again. And I've still got 2 left. So obviously
if they could work out, because I think about everything that was in my wallet when I carried an actual wallet. And it would be business cards, which Apple's going to take care of in iOS 27. You can use visual intelligence to capture a business card and create a
Oh,
contact
yeah.
with it. So there's that. You would also carry coupons, right? That's a function of Apple Wallet because, for example, my local grocery store, Food City, has an app that has a wallet integration, and I can go and clip coupons in the app and then scan the barcode on the wallet card and apply all the coupons at checkout, right? So coupons are kind of already taken care of as long as the third-party app accounts for it. And then there's these punch cards. Now, nobody's figured out how to do punch cards because when I buy 9 bottles of hot sauce, I expect to get the 10th free, but how are they going to track that unless I'm carrying the punch card? They need an Apple Wallet integration somehow. Maybe I tap every time I visit their kiosk, it clips a virtual punch card for me.
I have a feeling that this is an American thing more than here. I mean, we do have coupons,
Probably.
but to me, coupons seem a very American thing. I mean, in fact, I know the first coupon ever was for Coca-Cola in the US somewhere. Punch cards to me are like from ancient history, how you used to program
They're still
the
everywhere.
very first computers.
Computer
But
program.
hang on. We have things here when you buy coffee, you got a stamp and
Yeah,
so many
that's what I'm
coffees you
talking
get it. So that's got a punch card in the US. Okay.
A stamp card, punch card, loyalty card. There's names for it.
Right.
I would love to see those kinds of, because Apple has a loyalty card program for Apple Wallet. Again, I'm not aware of anyone actually using it, or the businesses that I go to don't use it. I'm not sure what the problem is. Just like with deliveries in Wallet, Apple had to finagle a system together that lets them track your deliveries through email scanning, which is great because, again, the onus is no longer on FedEx, for example, or Walmart. It's now you get a digital receipt, it's going to Wallet. It's not perfect. I wish there was better organization and automation there, but it's definitely working, and Apple still doesn't use it, so whatever. But Wallet needs some love. I think it needs a full redesign. The skeuomorphism is great. That should stay for the card stack, but we need different sections. We need an identification section. We need a loyalty section, and a credit debit card section, that kind of thing. So, because there's also keys in Wallet. My home key is there. There's so much. So we'll see what WWDC has to offer for the Wallet, but at the very least, we'll probably be scanning some barcodes, I guess.
So that's where car key lives as well, I presume.
Yes.
Dan.
For the 8 people who have it.
Well, this is okay. I feel better about that now. Speaking of different things and peoples and stuff, something else that came up that it was presented as very good news, and I mean, if you like that, that seems great. But Apple will allow Siri or just Apple Intelligence to work with more AI agents or services, and I'm thinking
We've already talked about this multiple times. We've talked about this as early as like May 2024. It was always the assumption that Apple would have some sort of AI agent app store where people could select the AI agent they wanted to interact with. That didn't launch with Apple Intelligence because clearly what Apple had ready at the time was what we have now. And this rebuilding process has taken longer than Apple expected, and doing the whole Gemini training process. What we should see at WWDC is what was rumored and expected for a while now, and rumored multiple times in the last 6 months. This is not a new rumor, of Apple Intelligence and Siri, which are the programs that you interact with. That's a top layer program. Will be powered by the Apple Foundation models, which is the backbone, right? That is what is actually driving the software. So Apple Foundation models will be running Siri and Apple Intelligence. You'll communicate with them via text or via an app interface or whatever, visual intelligence. And then their output can be manipulated by other models. So basically, you can make a request to Siri or Apple Intelligence and have that query processed and passed to an AI model that is installed on your phone via an app. So if you have the ChatGPT app or the Claude app on your phone, you could designate it as a information repository. Say, anytime I ask about work-related tasks, take this information to Claude and get it processed. That's more or less what's happening. It'll be an API call, most likely to an app. It's not going to be like ChatGPT was. If anything, Apple might get rid of that ChatGPT integration and that partnership because they no longer need it. But yes, we've been expecting this for a while.
So that last thing, right up to the end there, it sounded like this is the same as the extension we have for ChatGPT. The way in shortcuts you have use model and can choose ChatGPT instead of Apple Intelligence. But you think that different. Will go and we will have these instead. Okay.
ChatGPT is being communicated with through a direct server connection through a deal Apple made with ChatGPT with the utmost privacy protections in place. This new API model, not so much. Apple will most likely not be able to make a deal with every single possible AI algorithm that you can install on your phone via an app store. So you will be using these at your own risk. Sure. If you pass a image to ChatGPT, the app, not the Apple deal version, it will get that image and store it or train on it or whatever. Same goes for Claude or Anthropic or XAI or whatever. Apple might be able to promise a layer of privacy or require. Now, this is where it gets tricky because Apple does stuff like this. It could put in the developer guidelines a requirement that privacy is held up, but Apple can't guarantee that at this point because it's no longer that kind of deal. The deal that Apple has with ChatGPT is contractual in a way that legally binding in a way that a App Store guideline is way more loosey-goosey. And I say anyone with a lawyer is going to try and get around it. So don't just willy-nilly hand your stuff over to these apps, I would say, especially your Apple Health data and stuff like that.
God, no. So this is stuff that's likely to happen or be introduced or start at WWDC 2026. There are a couple of things about iPhones coming up. And I want to ask you particularly about the iPhone 18 Pro for it, because there was a leak this week saying definitive proof that the dynamic island would be smaller. It was listed as confirmation. But the leak was of a CAD design. And the same leaker who said this now confirms everything previously claimed to be showing photographs of finished models for it. That seems to me like going backwards for it, and it makes me doubt the whole thing for it. Do you genuinely expect a smaller dynamic island this year?
Well, yeah, the component's already leaked. Prosser had it upside down.
It was that one, right? Yes. Oh, okay.
But the component is leaked. The camera gets to go under the display, but the Face ID module does not, which is why we still need a software covering for the cutout in the display for the infrared sensors and stuff for Face ID. That's going to happen. This leaker, though, I don't know why we cover them. I don't know why anyone's paying attention to them. They're relatively new. They seem to be sharing things that probably came from other websites. I'm not sure yet. You say in the story, and this is true, I trust you, that this particular CAD model appears to be original, like they didn't get it from some other place.
It looks like, yeah.
But the same leaker shared a very dubious photo, we discussed it on the show, of a flash photo taken of a display so that you could see underneath the display to see the underneath camera. Right. But the dynamic island was perfectly black because it looked like they painted it on.
Oh, right? I see. Yes. Right. Oh, I saw that shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's stupid. Not fooling anybody. So I really wish, because rumors is kind of one of my main beats. I keep track of all these rumors and these people, and these fake guys pop up a lot. And I don't know who this person is. They seem on the younger side. They're in kind of a feud with the fake Majin Buu account, which is fake, where they're just arguing with each other all the time on X while he's still trying to post these supposed leaks or whatever.
Right.
You can just get a CAD program and make a CAD, guys. I don't know if you know this. You can download AutoCAD. So CADs really aren't leaks either, and the dubious photo that we got before is the only real other thing they've done. So I'm just saying we really probably should collectively choose to ignore them. But I know Sadly, we're not. So since other publications are talking about this random leaker, we're going to too. But we will continue to make sure to say how dubious and weird and definitely probably fake they are until they ultimately give up, like most leakers do.
This is the time of year when you would expect leaks about the iPhone. In fact, we have for
Silly
many months
season.
expect them and got them. Yeah, exactly. This year, though, for the first time ever, I heard a leak about last year's iPhone, the iPhone 17 Pro, and specifically it was that Apple is going to continue making them for it, which is being interpreted as a bit of a clue that this thing we expect of the, I need a name for these, the non-Pro iPhones
Standard
will
iPhone.
not be launched. Standard, that'll do. Will not be launched in September. They'll possibly be next year and things. Does that fit, or is this in some way another sign of chip shortages and problems like that?
Well, this is stupid. They're just saying things. This is the Ming Chi Kuo problem, where you can't tell if it's a blog or an analyst note.
Yeah.
Instant Digital, I believe, or it's the other digital one. There's two digitals now. But
Fixed Focus.
Yeah. One of these said that shared this, and it's a made up opinion. It's a random thought they've had, and for some reason people are covering it. We covered it correctly though, because we labeled it as BS, because it's stupid. The idea that Apple was going to split the iPhones from spring to the spring and fall instead of having one big release each year has been discussed for at least a year, if not more.
Yeah.
Well before the iPhone 17 came along. So the success of the 17 benefits Apple because they can continue to sell the successful phone for longer, but that's not why the 18 is getting released in spring. And I also just take issue with anyone calling the 18 a delay, because it is not a delay. It is an intentional release date that we've known about for a while because of leaks. So don't get silly.
It occurs to me that we went forward to the iPhone 18 and we went back to the iPhone 17. Let's go forward again, because there has been more news of the iPhone 20. If it's going to be called the iPhone 20, it could be the iPhone XX. It seems
Next
unlikely.
year's iPhone, 2027.
Yeah. Sorry, my mind's just gone ahead to the 30th anniversary and the iPhone XX. Anyway, the story I heard was that it will have rounded edges. And I thought, well, we've had rounded edges before. Is there something more to look forward to? Do you actually think there is any scope for as big a redesign for the 20th anniversary as there was for the 10th?
There's really no reason to pay attention to any of this until after the iPhone 18 comes out. So May of next year, we can talk about the iPhone 20. Look, this is how these rumor cycles go. There's prototypes. There's validation testing. There's a lot of stuff going on. Again, this isn't me saying don't pay attention to rumors. I'm kind of saying that because it's meant to be more fun. This is not... People twisted the rumor cycle into some sort of serious, like, gamble or something. Like they're gambling or they have money on the line. It's supposed to just be fun. It's supposed to be a way to, like, see if we can break through Apple's cone of secrecy and find out something before we're supposed to, because it's exciting to do. But people have turned it into determining if they're going to buy the next iPhone based on a leak from a guy in China. Like, that's dumb. So first off, let's calm down. Second, it's probably going to be some sort of model with glass and metal and cameras. I mean, I don't know what the descriptions of these phones are so, like, broad. It could mean anything, right? Like, at least when Prosser was wrong, he was wrong in a very specific way. Like, he said that we were going to get an iPhone anniversary edition with round buttons that looked like an iPhone 4. Clearly we didn't, but, like, at least that was a specific way of describing it. A leaker saying it's going to be a curved piece of glass with glass, like, that doesn't...
Right.
It doesn't tell us anything. There's glass on the iPhone right now. Like, a lot of it's glass, actually. There's a display. There's this whole back section for MagSafe that's a cutout from the metal frame. I'm not personally buying the idea that the whole phone's going to be glass. I do believe this rumor that Apple might invest more in capacitive buttons because I think they've been trying to get here for a while. It's going to increase water tightness. It's going to mean better. We might even finally get a submersible iPhone. Maybe. That would be a cool feature for the 20th anniversary. The first iPhone you can dunk underwater for video or something.
Right, that'd be really useful. I could see that. Okay.
So
there's something I mentioned
take it with a
earlier
grain of
about-
salt.
Yeah. Right at the start of the show, I mentioned AppleInsider Plus and how if you subscribe to it, you don't get the ads and you do get this extended extra thing. I don't want to spend too much time on this next thing because we are going to examine it in AppleInsider Plus. But your idea for AppInsider Plus was to do with Apple's legal cases and things. And it's topical now because of the back and forth and back with Epic Games things. So stuff happened with that this week. Do I care what it is?
We don't need to get into it. Epic, just because I've actually been on the phone a lot with Apple's legal team this week to make sure I fully comprehend what's happening. So I finally can say, like, I think I have a grasp of what's going on. So, long story short, Apple was sued by Epic because Epic purposefully violated rules, and Epic wanted to blow a hole in Apple's whole ecosystem by taking them to court. Epic lost on every count. It was a terrible move. They lost billions of dollars. It was a bad idea for Epic to do any of this, except they won on one count. Apple was required by the court, so this is the district court, that they went to court. So when there's so many courts, I was so mad about this because I used to never keep up with this. I finally forced myself to learn this. So they went to the district court. That is where Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers presides, and ruled that Apple must get rid of anti-steering and allow external links and external payment methods on external purchases. They did not rule anything about a commission. The original ruling had nothing about a commission. So Apple did that. They allowed external linking. They took away some of the cost from 30% or 15%. They went down to 27 and 12% and changed the payment methodology that Apple requires because they still require a commission. It was obviously convoluted in a way that made it not worthwhile for developers. Apple could have done better, but I think they were deliberately maybe a little bit not doing as good a job as they could have because they don't want developers doing this. Anyway, malicious compliance. Epic said, no, this is bad. Took it back to the district court and said, hey, Apple is doing it bad. So Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers indicts them for violating an injunction and gives them a punitive charge of you must immediately stop requiring any action for developers to link externally, and you must stop taking all commissions. This is the first time a commission is mentioned in any of this. So Apple is like, whoa, this is weird. First off, scoping reasons. Why are you saying all developers? This is a lawsuit with Epic. And second of all, you're saying we violated the, what is the word for it? It's left my brain. Word of law versus the spirit. They said we violated the spirit of the law, not the word of the law, which is not how district courts are supposed to rule things, first off. So we're going to take these two counts to the Supreme Court and have them decide what's going on. But meanwhile, we're also going to appeal everything going on here. The appeals court, the circuit court. So first the district court makes the ruling and the injunction and tells Apple bad, no more payments. Apple does comply. They stop charging. And since April of 2025, Apple has not taken $1 from external purchases from anyone. And Epic's loving this. Finally, we get to where we are. There was some back and forth with the circuit courts, and a circuit court judge said, actually, Apple is supposed to get a commission. They should get one. They're running the store. Go back to court, the district court, and figure it out with Epic. And Apple's like, yeah, but we're in the Supreme Court right now. We don't want to do that. Can we get a stay? They said yes. And then Epic walks in and says, no, they shouldn't do that. So then the circuit court says, no, you don't get a stay. So Apple goes to the Supreme Court and asks for a stay. And the Supreme Court said no. So that's where we are today, is now Apple has to go to the district court with Epic and argue with Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers about how much money they're owed, while going to the Supreme Court and trying to get the entire thing nullified anyway. So it's a lot of legal silliness. Yeah. There's two outcomes here, and we can move on. Mm-hmm. If the Supreme Court sides with Apple, they can side on with one charge or two. So first off, Apple is trying to use the CASA Act that was about eliminating birthright citizenship, and the Supreme Court said, hey, the smaller courts can't prevent Trump from doing these things because it's outside of their scope. So now Apple is using the CASA case against this trial, saying, hey, the case is about Epic. You can't say all developers that operate in the United States. That's too broad. You have to limit the scope, and the Supreme Court will either agree or disagree with that. If they agree, then they still have to go to the district court, but they only have to discuss commission charges for Epic, not the entire developer community. If the Supreme Court also agrees that the violation of the injunction was not required because of it only being the spirit of the law, not the word of the law, Apple won't have to go back to the district court at all, because there will be no conversation to be had. The punitive charges will most likely be withdrawn, and Apple will most likely just go back to what they were doing before and charging 27% and 12%.
Okay.
Apple is hoping for a lot here. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, the district court case, it's a race. If somehow the district court is able to get through its proceedings before the Supreme Court, it could issue more changes to Apple's ecosystem and App Store charging, and then the Supreme Court could just overturn that. So that's what Apple was trying to prevent with all these stays, all this back and forth. But now Apple's kind of, I guess, hoping maybe they'll get to go to the Supreme Court and get that done first, while the district court, they're waiting in line at the district court. That's mostly what they're hoping for at this point.
And another thing, sorry, totally separate thing, there was also the settlement about Siri for it. Now, I don't want to touch on this because it's going to hurt me. All week I have been reading that Apple has agreed to pay, is it $250 million in compensation for not delivering Siri as promised. I read articles of how to get your money and all this, and every one of them ends up, it's 1,000 words that ends with, we don't know yet, and things. At some point, some people will. Am I reasonable in assuming that it's only going to be in the US, so I'm out of luck?
That's also true. If you, this is a US thing, first off. If you purchased an iPhone, the iPhone 16, we'll go back even further, actually. So if you bought an iPhone 15 Pro, because that was the first one that supported Apple Intelligence, or any iPhone 16 model, or anything that supported Apple Intelligence between that September in 2024 and today, you're eligible for this lawsuit, and you will get an email where you can apply for your money. You're eligible for $25 per person, up to $95 depending on devices purchased, yada yada. But yes, $25 is most likely. But if everyone claims it, it's most likely going to be like $2. So we'll see where that goes. You got your money, great, for a frivolous lawsuit. Go America. Moving on.
Okay. I want to move on to something happy, because this did delight me. Schmigadoon. Now, if you don't happen to have come across it before, or you've vaguely heard of it, you've probably heard of it as the Apple TV series. It's a musical comedy. I did not know until I saw that show how much I like musicals, because from the very first note, and I mean actually the first note of it, it's a make-you-smile comedy about musicals. First season, fantastic. Second one, for some reason, it was a lot darker, went into different types of musical. And then they wrote a third season. It's completely written, including original songs, and we will never see it because Apple cancelled it before production. Well, it's very, very unlikely. But the reason you can even give me a maybe is because there's now a stage musical co-produced by Apple, Schmigadoon. And the first news this week was that it's been nominated for a ludicrous number of Tony Awards. Apple's first ever Tony Award nominations.
12?
Yes, and so many that actually they've extended the run by, I think, 4 months or something. So Schmigadoon's a hit. I want to see it.
If you open Apple TV right now, you will see a giant banner for Schmigadoon winning 12 nominations for Tonys.
Excellent.
Apple is really excited about this, and I want to point out that, like you said, it's all written. They're more than happy to come back and make another season, and there is a non-zero chance that this success and the hype around this could push Apple to make another season. There's nothing stopping them, and the storyline's wide open. I would love to see this return. It's such a happy, just fun show, fun musical, really good, well-written music as well. I would love to see this. I suppose it's only in New York on Broadway or something. So I would love to see this stage play, but I really hope the show gets to get a return in some form, but we'll see.
I think it's less likely than you do because all of the deals will have to be restarted. I mean, everybody has this impression because TV companies trying to make it sound like this, that everything is season to season, that your second season is because your first one went down so well. But normally, well, I mean, maybe not normally, but very, very often, the original order was for 2 seasons. They just didn't announce it. So there's a 2-season contract. There wasn't a 3rd season contract. Apple didn't renegotiate for it. They would have to start again.
I can see them picking up 2 more seasons. They could do this forever. It's just, is it worth it? I mean, it's got to be such a low production show. It looks like a stage on purpose. It's very cute.
Large cast though. Production numbers are also expensive.
Oh, I'm sure it's not inexpensive. I'm willing to bet it makes its money, but that's about it. And Apple's really not in the business of breaking even. But
sure.
Moving on.
Yeah, there was something actually, because just before I went away, you touched on this and you've done more of this now. You're writing this Apple at Home business, and you were talking about, it sounded to me like you were going to dive into the electrics of your house and rewire them with a soldering iron and a sonic screwdriver or something. And I'd like to hear about it before you do it, while it's still safe and things. Am I just exaggerating how much work you're doing here?
Really not doing that much. I was trying to figure out how to get power. There's a couple of lights in our house controlled by one light switch, and I'd really like it to not be that way, which requires finding a junction box, which is probably in the roof. It's going to be a whole problem. Mm-hmm. But I'm writing a series on Apple Home. I want it to be more frequent than this, so maybe future editions might come out at least faster than every, 2 to 3 weeks. Because the first one I wrote was a little bit ago about moving. This one is about having a whole home audio system with just HomePods. No third-party AirPlay, no Sonos, just HomePods. And I quite like having just HomePods. It makes everything so much simpler. I don't have to think about what speakers in what's room. I don't have to think about what AirPlay protocol I'm using. It just works. And in Apple fashion, it really does. And one of my favorite parts of this is the home theater setup, so I dive into that a little bit. And I've already had a few people comment, well, there's always going to be opinions. I personally think HomePods sound great. Even the HomePod minis, they sound great. Now, can you spend more money and get better sounding speakers? For sure. But how much more money do you have to spend? A HomePod is $300. How much money do I have to spend to get a better sounding speaker? I'm willing to bet closer to $600 or $700. And it's a single driver forward-facing speaker, whereas HomePods are algorithmically oriented multi-channel on their own, and then can be put in a stereo pair for $600. HomePod Mini, same deal. They sound really good for a $100 speaker, and then you compare 2 of them together, and they sound great. How much money do I have to spend to overcome that? Plus, I'm getting all the features with, the smart home stuff and assistant stuff, but I just find them to be very useful in our household, and wanted to dive into our use cases and using them as TV speakers, because I feel like people don't really understand how possible that is.
Yeah.
I can play my PlayStation 5 and have audio come through my HomePods.
We actually have a weird thing that not every show on Apple TV, but many of them, and actually even on Netflix, whatever goes through the Apple TV box, sometimes on our TV set, the volume is just insufficient. It's not too low. It's just, you'll whack the TV up to 100 or whatever its maximum is, and you can barely hear Silo, for example, but then you come out of it and everything else is deafening. And we now route the audio through a HomePod Mini in the living room, just the one, and it is great. The thing
is, it is really good equalizer.
Everything you've just said, I would have said is a description of me and how I like HomePods, and I had the impression you were much more of an audiophile than I was, because you have AirPods Max and things, don't you? So
yeah, I enjoy good audio just like anyone. I previously, so this is a 2022, I believe. I put it it's in the story, so you can go read it. But I used to have a whole home Sonos system, including a 5.1 channel Sonos home theater system. It was state of the art for the time. They had just come out with the Dolby Atmos soundbar and the ability to do Dolby Atmos if you bought all new speakers. So I was on this teetering edge of where do I want my future to be? And Apple had just released in that January a new second generation giant HomePod. So I said, you know what? I'm going this direction. This is before the Sonos kerfuffle of everything breaking and the app being bad. And I got out at a perfect time, honestly, because I was able to sell my system at a good price. But before I did a lot of comparisons because I really wanted to understand, what am I doing here? Am I going to enjoy this? Am I going to hate this? The 5.1 system, I had a Sonos Play Bar and two Play 1s, Play 3s. I need to go change the story. I had two Play 3s as my rear speakers and a sub. Right. The audio from that system was fine. It was great, right? They're good speakers. But honestly, other than the subwoofer, I couldn't really notice that much of a difference in what the HomePods were producing. They were virtualizing surround sound, but it sounded good. The audio that was supposed to come from my right was coming from my right. And the audio that was supposed to be in front of me was in front of me and loud and crisp and clear, and vocals were awesome. From two speakers sitting a few feet apart, a few feet in front of me, instead of all these speakers surrounding my room that need power, need pairing. Sonos kept having these issues where I had to basically reset the entire ecosystem because they were giving up, and it was just so complicated and frustrating and annoying, and AirPlay would just sometimes give up. It was bad. And here is this, at the time, $700, now $600 speaker system, fully competing with my, at the time, $2,500 Sonos speaker system.
Right.
The only thing it couldn't compete on was bass, because again, you cannot compete with a dedicated subwoofer, and I really wish Apple would make one or something. I want them to make a soundbar subwoofer combo. That would be great, but another time. It was doing great. I even just did the test of unplugging the sub, and here's the thing about unplugging that sub. Suddenly, and that's removing $600 from the system, so it's now a $1,900 Sonos surround system. They sounded worse than the HomePods at that point, because the HomePods were able to produce downforce bass at a really good quality.
Oh, I see.
Whereas the Sonos speakers do not have that ability. Maybe more modern ones do. The Dolby Atmos system with Sonos is great. But again, I had the choice between two HomePods I already have or $3,000 worth of Sonos speakers to get the newer, better quality system. And I chose HomePods, and I have not looked back. And it's been great. I can honestly say you don't need all that stuff. And I had someone in the comments saying, well, if I get a receiver with AirPlay and 6 Denon speakers, it'll sound better than your HomePod. I'm like, yeah, but how much does that cost? That receiver alone is the price of a HomePod. So anyway, and you can get a $2,000 receiver, and for some reason that somehow makes it better. I don't know. But HomePod, Apple, make more of them. Make them better. I'm happy.
If someone should want to explain the error of your ways, for example, how would they reach you about this or any other topic?
Feel free to reach me on Blue Sky, Hilly Tech, Hilly.tech, actually. Mastodon is Hilly Tech. You can email me, wes@appleinsider.com. Or you can reach out to both of us and hear yourself on the show through Apple Podcasts. We have a review this week because they were not happy with Mike. We always get at least one when Mike comes on. 1 star from Nick No Names. Actually, this might be the same person who reviewed Mike last time, so maybe they just don't like Mike. Free William Gallagher. Don't. Yeah, they say Mike was, behaving like a 2-year-old, yada yada. It's Mike's Mike, and I respect Mike, and I like that he is very blunt, and people do not like his bluntness. Clearly, this person does not, but he's going to be on the show sometimes, and I appreciate your feedback, but we're not going to get rid of Mike. He will return, but William is here, as you can see, so thanks, William, for being here for us, being the light of joy at Apple Insider.
I'm interrupting Showbiz Lunches to be here. I was trying to put a slur in my voice there, which, since I don't drink, wasn't terribly effective. But okay, as ever, I'm here to ask you things I want to know about, so thank you for it. I'm going
to say one last thing. Thank you, Lewis, for your emails as well. If you send me an email, I tend to try to respond. I don't always get to, like with Lewis's, I didn't get a chance to respond. So I'm saying hi here. Thank you. I did read them. I do read your emails. I don't always get a chance to reply back, but that is a good way to get a hold of me.
Well, speaking of emails, best way to reach me is always william@appleinsider.com. But look, since it's just us here, I'll tell you this, I'm also on YouTube. It's 58 Keys. And for the last few weeks, I've been getting 2 and 3 and 4 and 500 new subscribers every week. And this week, I'm on -1 subscribers for the week. And I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
Okay, but I still put out the videos for it. No, I like your version better. Yeah, I was away. People could somehow tell. Yeah. Okay. So if you ever fancied subscribing to 58 Keys, you'd make my week if you do it. But seriously, everything else, william@appleinsider.com. And of course, listening to the podcast, because the podcast will be back next week. And in fact, the podcast will continue in moments if you're a subscriber with Apple Insider Plus. But just before that, I'd like to say thank you again to our sponsor, Nordstellar. Thank you to Wes, too, for filling me in on everything I've missed. And let's talk again next week.
Talk soon.